and you thought you were rid of me. Psych, no one's that lucky. Hey, so first of all, I'm just gonna ask that all of you ignore my hair. I don't know what I guess I just like need a haircut and it is just not happening. I can't get it to like sit right or anything. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with it, but just ignore it, please, so that we can get through this. Here I am. It's been a while, and I have done a bunch of videos. This is just nuts. It's gonna drive me crazy. I've done a bunch of videos in between this one and my last one, and I'm sure if you guys took a few seconds to look around, you'll see that I privated all my videos, so definitely going with something different. I'm gonna do a new start, and okay, there we go. Is that better? Is that any better? Just ignore the fact that I look like the witch from Princess Bride right now. I definitely need a trim, and I need to like figure something out so I can wear my hair natural again finally. There are a bunch of things that I have been thinking, you know, why don't I just share this? I need like a creative outlet to put all these things. One of them is gardening. You guys know I love books, I love reading, I love movies. I love talking about those things, and so I guess from here on out that's kind of like what you can expect from this channel, but I'm going to be uploading a lot of gardening and plant videos in the coming future. If you guys don't want to watch them or you're not entertained by them, not gonna hurt my feelings. Thank you for being subscribed. Thanks for sticking it out. I've had a lot of you message me and ask me when I was gonna start uploading again, and hopefully they will be pretty frequent. I have been going out in my garden every single week, and I have a ton of work to do this year because yet again I am starting all over from scratch. Again, it happens every year. It's very annoying, but my yard gets destroyed because I have like 8 other people living with me. So, and most of them are kids, so it definitely gets wrecked. I definitely have to redo it every year. And we've just been dealing with some frosts here in California. I live in zone 9A, so we can get to freezing temps. I've actually seen it snow. We've had hail and icicles, stuff like that happen before. So, and then at the same time, it's like we're almost in the desert. So I'm like an hour away from Palm Springs, and that's only because of traffic. Like, it would be way less if there was no traffic, right? So it's definitely interesting. But today I thought that I would take you guys through something that I'm doing for my garden that doesn't require me to be in the garden, because it is such a mess out there. There's so much that needs to be done, and I just kept feeling like I was falling behind. But every time I'm out there, I realize I have no plants ready. I have nothing to plant, so I can set up my raised beds all day long, but I have nothing to put inside of them. I didn't really feel like going out and getting all sweaty because I just had a shower, so didn't think that out very well, did I? So it's definitely going to be tomorrow after work. I'll have to get out there. In the meantime, I've got my big box of seeds beside me. I've got a whole roll of paper towels. I've got a misting bottle and a bunch of Ziplocs and a Sharpie. What do you do with all this? Well, I'm going to show you. First of all, something that you need to know is that if you're going out old school, you know, biblical, with your seed packets and making little trenches and putting seeds in the trenches and covering that up so gently, watering it, a lot of your seeds are going to be displaced. In my opinion, it's not the best way to go about starting seeds. I also hate the fact that when you start seeds that way, you have to let the strongest survive and thin them by cutting them or pulling them out. It's just such an annoying process to me, and I hate the idea that you're wasting perfectly good seeds. With this method, like, none of your seeds go to waste. It's fun to see everything grow, and it only takes a few days most of the time. There are some types of seeds that take a while to germinate, depending on the conditions, but you can still watch every step of the way. And there are a few things that you can do to aid this process, which I'm going to show you right now. So I'm going to take the camera and I am going to put it down on the floor so you can see everything that I'm doing. All right, so first things first with this, you are going to want your hands to be clean. Another side note I should make is that if you are growing your nails out like me and you want to garden, but you kind of don't want to have the compromise. One thing that you can do is buy full cover tips. I just have like clear full cover tips on over my natural nails. The white that you see underneath, those are my natural nails. I have clear full cover tips on, and I just put them on with like brush on glue, or you can get a peely base or a peely gel base, put that on and then put the glue over it, and then you won't have any damage when these fall off, rip off, or anything else. It's been pretty casualty free for me. I've broken my thumbnails off a couple of times. One of them was a totally unrelated accident. Just don't put too much glue where the tip of your nail is. What do we do? How do we start? We have freshly washed hands. We have brand new roll of paper towels. You really want the type of paper towels that split in half like that. Just makes things easier. What you're going to do is basically clamshell them like that, and then they're going to fit perfectly inside the Ziploc baggies. You're going to pick out, for everybody, it's going to be different, right? You want to check out your hardiness zones, what you can start planting. The Farmer's Almanac website and the little almanac are really good for this. They email me and tell me when I should start which seeds, but since I'm in Southern California, it really doesn't matter. If it's too hot, I can put it in a container and keep it on my patio. If it's too cold, I can bring it in my garage. So really, it more has to do with what I'm going to put out in the garden right now. So for me, stuff like that is going to be warm weather stuff, since the weather's warming up. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, but it's pretty warm. It's March, Southern California. I'm going to do your standard stuff right now. I'm going to do like beets, radishes, tomatoes, peppers. I need to get more greens going. I had kale. I had collards growing out there and Swiss chard, and they were doing fine, but then they got root bound and I stopped watering, and I was just like, I don't care because they didn't taste good. So I am starting over. But we're going to be doing more warm weather, sun-loving plants right now, just because I know that I need to start getting them out there. I am really excited about this tomato. It's a Kellogg tomato from Rare Seeds, or Baker Creek. They're big old juicy orange tomatoes. They look delicious. I'm going to set those aside. I definitely want those out. I am going to pull out these daikon radish seeds that I got from website friggin' Etsy. They are mostly going to be used to break up the clay soil in my back garden bed. I'm going to set aside all of my leafy greens, and then at the end we'll decide which ones we want to start with. I have mustard seeds. I have lettuce seeds. I have so many onion seeds. I actually have walking onions going, and what's insane is that I had them for months. They just would not grow. They got misplaced. I had them in a pot that had dried up, and it was like not even absorbing water anymore. That's how dried out and old this dirt was. And then I look, and there are just roots everywhere with these little bulbils. I placed them, and they've been growing, but they haven't been growing too well. I rounded them up, and I separated all of the bulbils. I have a whole container full of them now, and they're huge. The greens on them are huge. I'm expecting them to become pregnant and then put on the little tree onion form pretty soon here. So that's going to be really exciting. I really want to maximize my tomato output, because it's like, seems like the one thing that you really should have a large amount of that I never do, just because I thought I planted enough and I thought I took enough cuttings, and I really did, but you know, I just had a lot of pests blow through last year. I thought it would be okay, but it wasn't. Catnip was a very interesting thing to grow. My cat didn't give an F, so I ended up giving it to my neighbor. Actually, what I would like to do is the Trinchuta kale from Baker Creek. This actually is a really soft type of kale. Oh my god, okay, I have to do the San Marzanos. I got homestead tomatoes, but they never came up last year. Of course, I'm very negligent when it comes to stuff like this. If it's not gonna grow, it's not gonna grow. So these are the ones that I picked out. Now we need to dwindle it down from there, because the best way of doing this to maximize efficiency is to have 2 different types of seeds per packet. And right now I have 5 packets, which means I can pick 10 different kinds of seeds, and typically I like to keep them together just so that if I have 2 different types of tomatoes and I kind of mix it up, like, oh, oops, which tomato did I put in this side and which did I put in this side, then at least I still know it's still going to be a tomato, and I know which part of the garden I can place it in without thinking like, oops, that's a radish plant. I mean, if you're a gardener, you can tell the difference between those, but I'm just saying, you know, at least then it's not too much of a tragedy if you mix it up. So, okay, here's where we're going to be dwindling it down. I do not yet want to do this squash. I'm putting it back. I definitely want these cucumbers. I want to do the daikon radish, so I'm going to put the French breakfast radish back for right now. And between the 2 types of beets, I actually want the golden beets. So for right now, I have 1 type of beet, 1 type of radish. And now we're going to dwindle down the tomato selection. So I know I want to do the Kellogg's. Black Grim tastes so good, but I want to keep my bigger tomatoes to a minimum. If you want a higher production, like a higher yield, and you want them quicker, you really want to go with the smaller tomatoes, because the smaller tomatoes, it's just more production. You also, I would recommend going with an indeterminate type of tomato. So I am going to go with my Kellogg's breakfast tomato, my San Marzanos, because the flavor on those is like seriously incredible. Then I'm going to do my Super Sweet 100 hybrid, because if I remember correctly, that one was dying all season, but it seriously stayed alive through every pest. And I wasn't even watering it, still produced a ton of fruit. So that's what we're going with right now. I actually did have good production for the yellow pear tomato, and I like having them in salad. So I'm going to do that. So we've dwindled our tomatoes down to a selection of 4. I'm going to put the cucumber next to the squash. For greens, I dwindled it down to the trenchita kale, and I'm going to put the Swiss chard back for right now. I think I want to spend a day working on the leafy greens. I'm going to do my giant red mustard. I didn't get to do mustard last year, and I really wanted to. Got it down to 2, 4, 6, 8. Oops. Okay, you know what? I'm going to do the peppers another day. Okay, you know what? Okay, I've decided. Okay, the leeks, I'll put those away. We're doing the mustard, the kale, the squash. We're doing 4 different types of tomatoes. We're doing golden beets and daikon radish. And that's how we're going to do it today. Things right here, missed it. And then you're going to take your first set of seeds. I'm going to do the golden beets and the daikon radish first. And I'm going to put them in their own little thing because I don't really need that many right now. I'm going to write the name of each variety on each side, and then maybe I'll like tear a corner off so I know which side has which seed, if that makes sense. I'll show you. So I'm going to do golden beets on the left, and then I'm going to do the daikons on the right. Then I'm going to tear a corner off of the side that is indicated on my packet. Daikons can actually get quite large. I originally bought them so that they could break up my clay soil and potentially fertilize them a little bit. Put a little bit more water down so they stay put. The seeds are pretty different, so I'm not too worried about them getting mixed up, right? But if you're planting 2 different kinds of beets, then you know, you might want to be a little bit more careful and not plant as many as I am right now. But since I know where these are going to go in the garden, and there isn't really a limit as far as amount, I can plant as much as I want. It's fine. Did you guys know that beets are from the Swiss chard family, and that's why you can eat beet greens? Although I wouldn't totally recommend it. If I remember correctly, golden beets have like a furry grit. I got cut off. But anyways, these are the daikons. These are the beets. For right now, just for illustrative purposes, I'm going to leave it. Normally I would do even more beats because honestly one of those is going to be one plant, is going to be one beat. Anyways, you're going to close it now. Do not lose track. Well, actually I didn't because I took the corner up off of here. That's kind of like something you can do to keep your eye on it. Mist it down. You are going to want like quite a bit of water on it just so that they don't move. You don't want them to move and mix together. They won't if you get them wet enough. That's pretty good. Yeah. So now you're going to place them in your baggie according to the names, right? See that little divot that I made right there? It's so that you know that I tore the corner off of this side and you can keep track of them that way. You can make your own system. I mean, maybe mine doesn't make that much sense. So when you are putting these in your baggie, make sure that you line everything up correctly. Don't lose track of that. Pay a lot of attention. I don't even know. I guess like I just call it squirrel brain, but I can get to where I get off track. Before you zip it up, take your little spray bottle or whatever you're using, put it inside of the bag and just start spraying. Because I didn't get it wet enough, and a lot of times I think people either get it too wet or not wet enough, and don't push all the air out of it. Let there be some air in it, because essentially what it's doing is it's going to be a greenhouse. You have all the perfect conditions. It's humid, and if you look, a little bit of water collects on the corner. That is the perfect amount. Let me see if I can... Yeah, that's perfect. It's going to stay really moist in there. Some people even like to not fully close them all the way. I've done both. Both seem to work. I just prefer to close them because sometimes what I'll do is I'll put them on my heating pad, just on a low temperature between some towels, and it acts like a heat mat. You can of course use a heat mat, but I'm cheap, so I'm like, I have a heating pad, why would I buy a heat mat? That is one of our packages squared away, so I'm going to do the rest of them and then we'll come back. Hi. Okay, so we have our finished stack of prepared seeds, seed baggies, whatever you want to call it. If you do want to look it up, this is called the Baggie method. I did not invent it. It wasn't me, obviously. Not that smart. Like I said, what I like to do is I take them in a stack like this. I might surround them by a couple of towels. Wow, focus. And I can put them on my heating pad that I have over here, but it's there for my back right now. I like to keep it pretty unhindered because I usually need it every single day. But another thing that I like to do is put it back here where my fridge is, and I know this is like a huge mess, but this is full of like books and like a zillion different things. I know this is ridiculous and I need to reorganize it. I'm just showing you that the back of your fridge creates a lot of heat, obviously. Right here is the perfect temperature for me to germinate seeds. They don't get too much sunlight if it's something that doesn't really need sunlight to germinate. If it does need sunlight, then put it at the top of the stack. But for me, this is just what works. I place them there. I forget it for a couple of days. So that is how I start seeds. That's how I get a start on my garden, even when I don't feel like going out and playing in the dirt, which is pretty rare. Just thought I would show you guys that's how I'm going to be starting most of my seeds, unless there's something like microgreens or like the mesclun. Those are things you do want to direct sow. Don't get discouraged. When you get the time, go out to your garden 10 minutes a day, start counting your pots and making sure that there's room for everything. And what I would do is make sure that there's a little allotment somewhere, or a huge overflow container if you can do it, because a lot of these are going to germinate. And the reason why I do it this way is I don't want to waste seeds, right? If I can provide the perfect conditions for each seed and then each seed survives, I'm not going to throw away that plant. The other thing is where I'm at, a lot of these things are perennials. A lot of these things will come back. I think you have nothing to lose by planting your overflow. You get more food, and you can, and it's not a waste. It's not a waste if you put it in the compost either. I totally get people's points, but I think right now, especially with the food shortages that we're going to be encountering soon because of Brandon being an idiot, I don't think you should waste an opportunity like throwing away a plant when you have some random space in your garden that you can put it in, you know? Make sure that you're using what you have. Don't waste anything. The beauty of this process is that if you think you can't handle more than 3 zucchini plants, don't start more than 3 seeds. Next time you see me, I will go through what else, like what other seeds I've started. These are like my essentials that I usually do every single year. I'm always going to be doing lots of tomatoes, always going to be doing lots of zucchini. I have eggplant out there right now that I think is still surviving. And then peppers, which is why I didn't do peppers today, because I have to go out and check them and make sure they're okay. I have been documenting each day that I've gone out in the garden and made any progress, and I've been time-lapsing it each time that I've been doing, you know, just like labor out there. What you're going to end up seeing is a start to finish time-lapse of my entire garden this year. I've looked over some of the footage so far and it's been really fun. Hopefully that's the next episode, and then at the end of the growing season, I'm going to compile it into one huge time lapse that we can watch together and learn from like all of the things that I did right and wrong this year. So I guess it's a little bit more pressure on me, right? I'm just really excited for this growing season. I've spent so much time over the last few years just figuring out where I went wrong in so many of my gardening techniques, and I have to say that most of it is from being lazy. So don't be lazy. Never believe that you can't be gardening right now. I have held myself back so many times by being like, I can't garden right now. I can't grow this right now. It's too hot. It's too cold. And you know what? A lot of times, yeah, it was too hot or it was too cold to be growing outside in the middle of the dirt and not watering it each week or every few days, right? If you're not watering during the hottest part of the year and you don't have it in a wicking bed, it's not going to survive. If it's in the direct sun and the plant doesn't require direct sun, you're going to be SOL. The other thing is here where I live, it's an hour away from the desert, and my full sun is not the full sun that they're talking about on seed packets. My full sun is like, I'm going to kill you, you're in the desert kind of full sun. Full sun here, my full sun, would probably be more like 3 to 4 hours, right? For other people, it's going to be the full 4 to 6 because you guys have a lot cooler weather and stuff. So, and the sun isn't like baking you. So those are things to keep in mind. Don't ever think that you can't be growing right now. I've gotten into houseplants. They're everywhere in my room right now. I've totally had a lot of fun with that. But when it comes to even vegetable gardening, you can always be growing something, even if it's one tiny skimpy tomato plant inside of your house. So don't ever look at something and think that's impossible for me. I can't do it. I live in Southern California. I can't grow a bleeding heart in the middle of my yard. You know, find a way. You can do it. So that's it for me this week. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully they'll be a little bit more concise, a little bit more structured and to the point, I guess. You know, I can like really talk your ear off sometimes, so we're learning. It's a learning experience. Kind of weird coming back out of nowhere and just being like, cool, I like plants now. So anyway, we're on to plants. We're not talking about me being obnoxious anymore. But I hope you guys enjoy it anyway. All right, see you guys next week. Oh, stay sweet. Sorry, I'm fucking everything up right now. Stay sweet, you guys.